In the world of Array, fireside tales were told, passed down generations to the young from the old, of the magical realm, a plane ruled by seasons, ever-changing, ethereal, and maddeningly beautiful. This was the world of the Fae, or the Feywild as it came to be known, and this is where Shift's story begins. In the woods of the spring, where life is lighter and less unpleasant Fae tend to dwell, your parents, Shift's parents, have hidden their child, but he's not yet known as Shift. It's a happy life, and the light here is always full of pinks and whites and drifting flower petals. And this is only the second time you've been here to the season of spring, because you guys drift around a lot. But you and your father are doing kind of a morning routine. He likes to ask you riddles in the morning before the chores start. And you're sitting on a stump, waiting for your mother to serve you breakfast. Your father is sitting before you. He's a Eladrin-looking man with long, golden hair, bright gold eyes. He always looks like he's tanned, very handsome. And he looks to you and he said, Saoirse.
Yes, father?
What breaks, but never falls?
What breaks, but never falls? Breaks, but never falls.
He begins eating an apple as you contemplate his riddle.
Well, father, my first thought was a river, but they can end in a waterfall.
Yes, that is correct. It is not a river. Try again.
Well, it is in the morning, and I am fairly hungry, so this may be just my stomach talking, but are you talking about breakfast?
As you say breakfast, your mother actually exits from the little lean-to shelter that you guys have built, and she chuckles. She's holding, like, bread and cheese and simple things like fruits. And she kind of displays them very prettily in front of you and says, it's absolutely not breakfast. Has your father told you another riddle again?
Of course. It's the only way to start the day.
She is like a blue-skinned Eladrin. She has like silvery white hair and very fiercely blue eyes. But she's got a very warm smile and her cheeks look a little flushed. And she puts her hands on her hips as she looks at her husband and says, why do you always torment our boy? And he says, well, as you know, I have to train him to outwit even the wittiest.
Nonsense, mother. I enjoy these riddles. You know that.
And she just kind of smiles affectionately at you, says, okay, well, I'll let you boys be boys then, and wanders back inside to start doing, you know, her morning routine. And your father turns to you and says, well, any other guesses?
It may be because I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I was too mesmerized by the beauty of the night around me, but my brain can't seem to wrap around the concept. Do
you give up?
Is it spirit?
No, but that's a good guess.
I think that's my third guess, father.
It is your third guess, and he taps you gently on the forehead, and he says, Dawn.
Oh, of course. Of course. I'm going to have to remember that one.
Then he says, today we have sword training. And I'm going to teach you how to tie some new knots.
Ooh.
But before that, I think your mother needed you to get water by the river.
Of course.
And he kind of gestures to the bucket beside the lean-to. And says, I entrust this to you. I know that you're handy enough with your knife if you need to be, and just be wary. But there aren't much here that would want to harm us. This is a good place. We may stay here a while yet.
You've always had an eye for the peaceful environments.
I do try, son. And so I assume Saoirse goes to go about this task. What does Saoirse look like as he begins to wander into the forest carrying the bucket for water?
Yes. So as he rises to move, he grabs his cloak from his side, which he never leaves anywhere. It's always right next to him. The cloak is like a square made of multiple square patches stitched together, and they're all different colors to represent each season. So you have red patches for summer, you have green patches for spring, orange for fall, and then you have blue for winter. and sewn within not all of the patches, but a few of the patches as the cloak has kind of evolved over time, is specific symbols that represent those seasons. So, for like fall, it will be like a leaf, or for summer, it would be like the sun. Very simple depictions of these symbols, but to the point where people would just immediately pick up on what they're supposed to be representing. As far as his what he's wearing underneath, just very simple clothing, actually kind of makeshift from the environment around him, like mostly earth, nature, leaf based, like clothing that he's kind of, his mother and father have kind of taught him to create using his environment. So you can see just a bunch of like leaves and stuff. So like kind of like placed adheres together in some fashions to cover up the more sensitive bits. But yeah, so he that's what he's wearing right now. And then as far as him, he is, as you already mentioned, an Eladrin, which means that his physical features change based on what season he's currently in. But because of his upbringing and how his parents have always cared for him, he has never chosen to ever change the season that he's been a part of, which is spring. Because to him, spring is the most important of the seasons because it represents life and growth and love and happiness. And that's all that he's ever felt due to the kindness of his parents. So he's never been inclined to ever change his form. So right now, as a spring Eladrin, he is green skin, green hair, green eyes. And you can see some of the foliage that you would immediately assume was a part of his attire at first is actually growing out of his skin. So he has little bits of like kind of greenery and shrubbery kind of growing out of his actual skin.
That's beautiful. That's really sweet. So Saoirse wanders into the woods. You can hear, you're not very far from the brook that your father mentioned to retrieve water. And your parents are pretty resourceful that way, where they want to be close to what they need to survive. And conveniently, usually animals, small animals would also live around here. So if you needed to hunt, you could, because they also need the water. Give me a perception check.
Okay. And wow. Okay, listen, I know you weren't able to actually see me roll the dice, but I promise you I'm not cheating. The first roll was a crit.
Ooh, nat 20 out of the gate. Okay, I like it. Yeah. Saoirse's ready for action. So Saoirse immediately hears the voice of a young woman singing to herself ahead.
Huh.
She's singing in a language that you don't know, but you're not unfamiliar with. You've heard your parents speak this language, but you've never been able to speak it yourself.
Interesting. That's quite beautiful. Saoirse is just kind of compelled to approach the singing. Saoirse's always been, again, because of his upbringing, has always been attracted to or curious about things of great beauty because of where he's been brought up and where he lives in the Feywild. There's just such an overabundance of beauty that Saoirse kind of has made it a point to investigate and kind of feed his curiosity in that regard. So the song has compelled him to kind of approach. Okay.
Do you approach stealthily or do you just approach?
I believe he's trying to be as quiet as possible because he does not want to break the song. The song is
You don't want to interrupt the singer.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So give me a stealth check to see how well that goes.
Okay. Ooh, not so good that time. That's a 2 plus 4. That's a 6.
So Saoirse's trying to be very stealthy, but he's still very young, and he is extremely enraptured by the song that he hears. And as he's trying to cautiously approach, he unfortunately has a slip of the foot and steps on a very dry branch that then cracks under his foot very loudly. And it interrupts the singer. The singer stops, and you can almost feel like a wave of apprehension ahead of you that you've unnerved whoever was singing, and then you hear a female voice say, "Hello, who's there?"
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Do you go forward to approach the voice?
Yes, yeah. With hands raised though, like
bucket in one hand, hand up the other way.
Right, just to kind of as a passive, like nonverbal communication of like I'm not here to hurt you. I'm just here to listen.
Sure. As you come out of the brush with your hands raised, you see a young woman. She has pale pinkish skin and bright pink hair. She has a large, like, kind of ratty-looking cloak. Like, she might have made it or found it, like, made it out of bits of different things she found. It's more dark-colored, so it might be older. It could have even been something that was handed down to her. But that's the only thing she seems to be wearing is this dark-colored cloak that's just covering her entirety. You can see her feet and her legs that are bare. Mm-hmm. And she has some, like white flowers growing out of her hair. She kind of looks like an Aladdin like yourself.
Oh, okay.
And she has very interesting, like, gray-white eyes. And she looks very startled by you. And she says, Oh, that's okay. I just come here to bathe sometimes. I didn't know anyone else was camping nearby.
Oh, yeah, it's... no need to be alarmed. It's nobody... Me nor my parents are here to harm anyone. We're just trying to live. Can you please start singing again? That was quite an enrapturing tune.
Well, I'm happy to sing, but to whom is my audience?
Oh, I am sorry. I am truly sorry. I forget myself sometimes. I am Saoirse.
Saoirse. What a pretty name. She kind of approaches you slowly, puts a hand to your face, like she's checking you out, like making sure you're real. Because it's the Feywild, so some weird things happen.
Okay.
As she touches you, though, you feel her hand is extremely cold, and you're not sure if it's from the water. And as she touches you, her eyes kind of roll back into her head.
Oh, okay.
And she starts speaking in that language that sounds beautiful, but now also has kind of a menace to it. Oh. And she kind of grabs the back of your neck, like, not like... to hurt you, but almost like to make you stay there, like when you scruff a kitten.
Right.
And she starts speaking these words. I'm gonna need you to give me a perception check again.
Perception check? Okay. Okay, that's not bad. I didn't even have to look at my bonus last time because I critted, but my perception's actually real high, which is nice. So 14 on the die plus 7. So we're looking at 21.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful.
I can see everything.
You can see that the water in front of you, like in the brook, starts to like ripple.
Oh.
Like as if it's bouncing, as if some great animal is running towards you. And all the trees around you start to bend. Small creatures start coming out of the earth. Like smaller fae, like lesser fae, start coming out of the earth and like staring menacing at you as this woman like starts saying something in a language you can't understand with her eyes rolled back. And she starts to grin at you in a very perturbing sort of way. All the trees start to sway towards her. Like all the pinks and whites of the flowers start kind of swirling around you. And in a tree closest to you, as this woman is speaking in a language you don't understand, common words start being carved into the wood bark.
Oh.
And you read, "Field of grain, lulled by sleep. Unclean child this curse shall keep. A sin from kin has caused disgrace. Forever shall you move your place. Season broken, weave undone. Mend the bond, restore the sun." And you feel a coldness suddenly come over your whole body. A coldness like you've never experienced, and a sense of dread. A dread that you've never experienced either. You don't know why you're dreading this. This woman just a minute ago seemed totally harmless. But you see these words carved into the tree. And from behind you, you hear your father's voice shouting for you in a panic.
that for sure was not the same song you were singing earlier. I think I have to go. And I just kind of grab her arm and try to like shove it off me and run into the other direction towards my father's voice.
She lets you go. She drops her arms as you start to run towards your father, and you hear her laughing in a manic sort of way. And you hear her voice go from the soft, sweet young woman's voice to that of a crone. You turn and start running towards your father. You see his arms outstretched towards you, but just before you make it to him, you disappear. The world around you seems to ripple. As you take a step, the ground seems to suck up your foot like quicksand and flings you into this cold, strange, dark place. You have used your Fey step before. This is not what that feels like. This is cold and dark and vaguely terrifying. I'm gonna need you to roll me a d6, please.
1d6.
And I'm gonna have you roll it 3 times. If you roll a double, roll again.
Okay. All right. I got a oh, no, that's a double. 6, a 3. That's a double. What? That's a triple? There we go. A 6, a 3, and a 2.
Okay. So as you get sucked into this darkness, in your ears you almost hear like a humming sound. And you've never experienced this before, but you swear you taste blue, and you didn't know that was a thing. And you open your eyes with like a gasp, and you find yourself in a long, dark stone hallway. To your left, ahead of you, you can see on the floor the colors of fire, as if through that open doorway there's a fire going. And you can kind of hear it crackling, and you can kind of vaguely hear voices. Give me a perception check.
Okay. Come on. Perception's been good this session. I guess it was bound.
Did you jinx yourself?
Yeah, I did. I straight up jinxed myself. So there was a 3 on the die plus 7, so 10.
Okay, that's enough to hear that there are voices ahead of you coming from that room where the light is being cast from a doorway. But this is an unusual place. There aren't any trees. It's all like stone and marble. The hallway itself looks like a checkered marble, like black and white kind of floor. The walls seem like they might be painted black, or they're made of a very dark wood with like a crisscrossy kind of paneling all the way up to a very tall ceiling. Like if you look up, the ceiling itself looks black because of how far away it is and how dim it is in this hallway.
Oh, wow. Okay. So just to clarify, the only opening that I see in this area is that one door that there's a fire and noises coming from, or voices.
Yeah, I mean, if you look to your right, it looks like it's a dead end on that side of the hallway where there's just more closed doors.
But that's the only door that is currently open. Got it. Okay. Father? Mother?
Do you say that very loudly?
No, I'm trying to be very, I hear the voices, so I'm trying to be, at least a little bit quiet.
Okay.
Saoirse, after not getting a response back, stands up. I assume after a trip like that, he's probably on his ass.
Probably.
Yeah. So gets to his feet and kind of, checks his person first to make sure that he has his cloak. And
yeah, anything you had on you, you have on you still.
Okay, good. And then so
including the bucket somehow.
Is the bucket? Is there still water in the bucket?
Yeah. He sloshes on the floor a little bit as you panic.
Gotcha. Okay, he's gonna grab the bucket and he's just gonna slowly approach the opening and try to peek around the corner to see if he can figure out. Okay,
are you trying to be quiet about it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Give me a stealth roll, please.
Okay, let's hope this one goes a little bit better than the last one. Nope.
What did you get?
Saoirse is not the quiet type. That is an 8.
Oh no, Saoirse, no! The voices ahead of you cease talking.
Was I able to pick anything up before they stopped talking?
I'm sorry, remind me your 3 languages again. It's Primordial.
Common, Primordial, and Elvish.
Again, it's a language you don't recognize. It's very guttural. It's not the same beautiful language you heard in the Feywild. Almost like growls.
Okay.
Pretty unnerving. And all of there are 4 distinct, different growling voices, but they're all, like, growling, and some of them are, like, lilting and ominous, almost like a dark choir singing. And as you start to approach, you once again kind of conk the bucket you're holding into the wall, and a bunch of water splashes out and makes a large, like, whoosh across these stone floors, and all the voices in the room ahead of you stop. Then you hear one voice in a language you can't understand say something in a very guttural way that sounds angry as all shit.
Oh.
And
I start backing away from the door.
You start backing away from the door.
Yeah.
From that door, you see 3 or 4 tiny demonic-looking creatures start skittering their way towards you, their tiny fangs bared, hissing and shouting at you in a language you can't understand. What does Saoirse do?
So I don't think this is something that Saoirse does, like, voluntarily, but it's just something that's been built into him. Yep. Like, yes, his parents have been able to kind of keep him safe, for the first, 30 or some odd years of his life.
Sure.
But they have also taught him just, like, basic instinctual survival skills.
Yeah.
So I think when he is kind of presented with these creatures, his like, he almost involuntarily face steps.
Okay. So Saoirse, essentially, what does that look like for Saoirse when he involuntarily face steps?
So because he's a spring Eladrin and has always been a spring Eladrin, his face step is specific to that season. So what I like to kind of see it as is, like, I don't know if you watch a lot of, like, the like Naruto, like, anime stuff.
Yeah, I watch a lot of anime. Yes.
Yeah, where they do the disappear, and, like, there's just, like, a log sitting there.
Yeah.
So it's kind
what does
of
he
like
leave
that,
behind?
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but minus the log. So there's, like, a lot of wind and leaves in the area, but he's gone. So it's just like a sudden gust of wind, and he just disappears, and the only thing that's left is, like, leaves and the remnants of the wind being blown.
Okay. Am I correct in my understanding that usually the face step will take you to the Feywild?
So yes. So the way that face step works is, it is only supposed to send you, like, what is it, like 60 feet or something?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, but in order to get there, you essentially jump into the Feywild and then jump back
out
the
other side.
Yeah.
Sure. So you involuntarily face step. Behind you is a swirling leaves, small gusts. As you start to disappear, you hear these creatures getting closer, lunging, starting to try and bite. And poof, you're out of their jaws. And as you start to feel relief, that's immediately washed away as you find yourself not in the familiarity of the Feywild, but surrounded by a fog-filled space. It gives you the sense of, like, an ocean, but you're not sure where that ocean is. It almost feels like when the fog rolls in over a beach.
Okay.
It gives you a sense of a place with great swirling depth, but you can only really see the movement of fog. And they're all kind of colorful, like in different pastels, like swirling around you.
Huh. Immediately, because he's a spring Eladrin, one of the magics that he's kind of focused his attention on is the ones that he closely ties to spring, which kind of being like wind being one of those. He's going to use gust.
Okay.
And he's going to try to attempt to kind of disperse the fog in the area so we can kind of get a better idea of where he's at.
Sure. What's the radius on that?
I can push things up to 10 feet away.
Okay, so we'll say that you clear about 10 feet of space. And in that 10 feet of space, give me a perception roll. Sorry, a lot of perception rolls in this one.
That's fine. That's cool. That's as long as we stop with the stealth rolls, I think I'll be all right. So 17 plus 7, we're looking at a 24.
Wow. Yeah, so immediately as you clear it, you see a humanoid older man's head poking through like an open hole in the space. He's got spiky white hair, and he's kind of got like a dribble of drool coming out of the corner of his mouth. And he sees you, and he looks like nonplussed. And he just goes, nope, this isn't the right one. And then pulls his head back through that portal. And you see kind of last second, as this little opening is starting to close, you see a younger boy stick his head in. He's got like brown hair, and he's wearing a yellow shirt. And he kind of like looks through and goes, what are you, And as it starts closing, it starts smushing his face, and then it closes, then they're both gone.
I'm sorry. Is that a Rick and Morty reference?
It sure is. Yeah, it really is.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Oh, good.
Is that all he sees?
That's all he sees. The rest is just swirling mist around you.
Okay.
And
so
once you clear it and that man is gone, the mist just seems to come back.
Okay. So at this point, Saoirse's just going to try to kind of make his way through the fog. But since Gust is a cantrip, he can kind of continuously cast it.
Sure. It's really strange because... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, so I was just going to say, as he's walking through it, he's just using Gust to kind of try to clear the area ahead of him as best as he can, so he doesn't walk face first into Rick and Morty.
So it's really strange, because no matter how many times you clear it, the mist comes back. It always comes back in kind of a different color. There are different colors depending on what direction you're looking at. Your feet kind of feel like... You hear the sound as if you're splashing through water, but your feet never get wet. It's a really strange place, and you wander and wander and wander, but you don't encounter any other people.
If this occurs for more than just like a few minutes, then Saoirse's just gonna kind of, and this time a little bit more loudly, Father? Mother! Kind of scream into the void.
So you call, Father? Mother! And for a second you swear you hear them, as if from a great distance.
I sprint in that direction.
And as you start to run, you feel that same pulling feeling that you felt when you were back by the river with that strange woman. And darkness kind of consumes you. Your body is coated with like goosebumps. All the hairs in the back of your neck raise, and you're pulled as if from the center of your belly button. And the sound of your parents' voice kind of echo in your ears, but you're pulled in a different direction. And as the darkness clears from your eyes again, this time you arrive in a bright gray void. It's a barren place of other dimensional nothingness. That's the only way you can really describe. Give me a perception roll again.
Okay. 9 plus 7, 16.
You start to hear voices, like grumbling voices, coming from just ahead of you. And as you look kind of off in the distance, you see the figures of 5 giant humanoid people standing around a really bizarrely small-looking table comparatively. Do you get closer?
So at this point, Saoirse has quickly learned that not everyone around him is an ally. And he is going to, instead of stealthily approach, see if he can find any kind of cover. So he's just not out in the open.
I guess roll me perception.
Okay. 17 plus 7? 24?
You find a large painted humanoid statue, for lack of a better description. When you touch it, though, it doesn't feel like stone. It's just really big.
What does it feel like?
It feels like plastic.
Oh.
For you and I, it would feel like plastic, but you wouldn't know what it was.
He doesn't know what plastic is.
It'd feel very cool and smooth and strange to the touch. Like, it feels false, but you're not sure why. So it's probably about 6 feet tall compared to you, I guess. 6 feet taller than you.
6 feet taller than me? So like two of me, essentially?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it looks like it's a orcish type person holding a shield and a sword as if posed for battle, but it's clearly not real.
If I make my way behind that statue so I can kind of break line of sight, am I close enough to be able to like maybe hear what they're saying, if they're communicating, or...
Yeah. As you hide, you can hear the sound of stones being thrown on the table, and they all appear to be rolling these large stone dice on this table. And from your perspective, you can hear like tiny voices as if in battle, and you can kind of see the movement of tiny humanoids on the table having a battle as they roll these massive dice. And the giant figures around them appear to be having a very good time, talking to each other, laughing, but their voices are almost far away, as if they're too high up for you to hear what they're saying. Gotcha.
Okay. So I don't know if you've been able to pick up on this up until this point, but Saoirse's a bit naive. Because of how accepting and how kind and how supportive his parents were, he doesn't know a whole lot about the outside world. So when he starts hearing laughter, he immediately attributes that to enjoyment and happiness and not, things that he should be scared of. So because of what he's currently kind of already experienced up until this point, it's a very welcoming sound and he wants to be a part of it.
Okay.
So Saoirse, once he hears the laughter and the enjoyment, kind of walks from behind the statue and approaches the table and tries to communicate. Like, I know he probably doesn't understand the language that they're speaking, but...
Yeah, you realize you're essentially standing next to the foot of a giant. And above you is a table, though from a distance it looked dwarfed. It's much bigger than you. It's just much smaller than them as well.
Right.
What are you saying to try and get their attention, or what are you doing to try and get their attention?
How high do I come up to them?
You're probably up to their ankle.
Wow. Okay. This was a mistake. I immediately regret this decision. I'm going to. I mean, I have to follow through now, right? So, I'm gonna kind of like poke at the closest.
You're gonna
giant's
poke the leg
foot, like at the ankle that I can reach. And then if I get his attention, I'm just going to try to wave and smile jovially, as happy as I possibly can.
Okay.
Can't even get the word out right now.
Sure. So you tap the leg, and the giant looks down.
I'm just waving like a fucking idiot.
He has 2 eyes. He sees you waving, and he goes, you can hear him better because he starts to lean down towards you, and he says, "Oh, we dropped a mini."
And oh no, I'm
and he picks you up very gently. What? He picks you up by the scruff of your collar and kind of puts you in his big fuck off hand.
Okay.
Carefully, like tenderly almost. And he brings you up so you're eye level with the rest of these giants. There are about 5 of them standing around the table. They're all kind of vaguely humanoid looking. They all look kind of different as individuals do. But they're just fucking enormous, and they're all rolling these big stone dice. Below you can see there's like a map, and there's a bunch of other humanoids like you having some sort of like pretend battle.
Oh, okay.
And they pick you up and they say, "Here you go. We'll put you back with the others." And they insert you directly into the fray.
I need... But I can understand them. So they're speaking common? Or...
They're speaking common, yeah.
Okay, cool. This all seems like a lot of good fun, sir, but I have no pretend weapon to pretend fight with.
So one of the giants can kind of hear you being like, and leans down, like, so his eye is almost at the table, and he tilts his head kind of to the right, so you're almost in his big fuck off ear, so he can hear you. And he goes, "This one needs weapons."
Oh, man.
And one of the men, one of the like tiny other people around you, and there's all different types of people here with you. There are elves, there are dwarves, there are orcs, there are humanoids, there are monster type creatures, people you've never encountered before. And they all, one of them kind of throws you a little foam sword.
Awesome. So I actually have proficiency with like like a rapier? Can we?
Okay,
can we
yeah,
count
we
this
can
as
use
a
that.
rapier?
We'll use it. Yes.
A little. Okay.
Yeah, because it's fake. It's for funsies.
Okay. Just in case I need to fake stab someone.
Right. And a tiefling nearby you looks at you and says, "Just watch out for the dice."
I'm sorry. The dice.
And as he says that, give me another perception roll.
Okay. That is a 12 plus 7, 19.
That is definitely enough to see a enormous rock that has cut sides to look like a 20-sided dice falling towards you.
Oh God!
Onto you and the people around you. I'm going to need you to give me a dex saving throw.
Cool. Is the tiefling close enough for me to like physically touch him?
Yeah, he is.
And you have to let me know if I'm allowed to do this because I know I already face stepped once. And I have to short rest in order to use it again. But
you know what? We can say that as you travel through different dimensions, because you're inert and almost sleeping, that counts as a short rest.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to touch the tiefling, and I'm going to use specifically the spring edition of the face step, which allows me to touch one willing creature within 5 feet of you. That creature teleports instead of me.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to teleport the tiefling out of the way, and then I'm just going to turn around and just jump out of the way. Yeah.
So he doesn't know what's happening. So as you touch him, he looks disgusted, but also as you touch him, he looks nervous, like, what the fuck are you doing? He sees the rock coming. He actually, instead of allowing himself to be teleported, he shoves you out of the way.
Oh,
you
okay.
skid, and he is crushed.
Oh!
Like a bug.
My God.
Because he didn't understand what you were doing. He's probably never encountered a Fey.
Oh.
But he didn't want you to die.
Oh my God. That's...
You hear the screams of people as they're being crushed or like partially crushed by this stone dice. And in that moment, like as you're falling backwards, you have another moment where you feel like you can hear your parents' voice. Like you can hear them calling for you. And then you feel that hook behind your belly button again. And you begin to be pulled back into that awful darkness once again. When you
I try to fight it this time because I kind of like I'm used to this feeling now. This has happened to me. So I'm trying to like specifically fight it and use my parents' voice as like guidance to try to like
give me a Constitution save.
Okay. 16 plus 5, that is a 21.
You fight it. You're trying real hard, and you swear for a second. As your hand reaches out, you see your mother's hand, blue, reaching. She tries to grip you, but as she tries, the pull only gets stronger. You hear her scream. You see her fingers fall off bloodily as this portal closes violently.
Oof.
And you wake up in an area covered with green. You can hear sounds of a jungle. It's very humid here. And you can feel the ground beneath you rumbling, as if a large creature is walking around.
Am I already on the ground?
You're sitting on the ground on dirt. There's lots of plants. You can hear tropical birds kind of calling. You can hear something roaring in the distance. And you can hear almost like a strange lowing kind of sound. All the hairs in your arms stand up, though, because this area feels like magic gone wrong. Like, you swear you can feel the Feywild here, but it's wrong somehow.
All right, well, I'm going to immediately try to hide, try to find, as much shrubbery as I can to kind of bury myself in.
Okay. Give me a stealth roll. There's plenty of shrubbery around, so that's not an issue to find the shrubbery.
Okay, cool. Thank God. 18 plus 4, 22.
Oh yeah, you are hidden. You managed to hide behind a very thick overgrowth of like palm fronds. There's like a miniature fat palm tree. You know the ones I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You kind of see them in pictures of like prehistory plants.
Right.
And speaking of prehistory, coming around the corner is a very large animal with shield-like spines all along its back and head and tail. It's enormous. It's not as big as the giants you just encountered, but it's one of the largest creatures you've ever seen. It has a very small head, and at the end of its tail it has 4 spikes. It appears to be eating grass and like other plant life around it. It's making like a wah kind of sound as it eats plants and kind of just stomples around you. You can see it has a baby with it. Mm-hmm. And they just appear to be some kind of a very large, very armored herbivore.
As soon as Saoirse is able to kind of like verify that he's at least temporarily safe and that nothing is immediately trying to kill him, he immediately takes a minute to realize what just happened, like the current events, and that his mom is injured now.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like trying to process all of this and freaking out a little bit, and he's kind of dealing with all these emotions that he quite honestly up until this point in his life has never experienced before. Mm-hmm. Like fear and sadness and worry and like anxiety, and like he's never had to worry about any of this before because it's always just been happiness with his parents. Like everything's always kind of been almost a game,
right?
And the reality of the situation is finally starting to kind of settle in.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, and just incrementally, just very incrementally, Saoirse's skin, hair, and eyes kind of fade a little bit. They're a little less green. Specifically, it's starting to kind of tilt a little bit more towards like a blue-green. Mm-hmm. But they're still green, just like more of a blue-green now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Once, and then, after he's done freaking out, he kind of like remembers what his dad taught him and how to like always stay focused and always look forward and don't ever look behind you. Just survive. That was always the lesson that his father always taught him. So he's going to try to regather his strength and I guess try to kind of look around his surroundings as he kind of darts from shrubbery to shrubbery, try to stay hidden and quiet as much as he can because he doesn't want to upset the large beast. But he's also going to try to explore a little bit more to try to see if he can figure out where he is so he can get back to his parents. Sure.
And I think this is the perfect place to initiate a skills challenge. So as you start exploring the island, you're going to encounter different creatures, you're going to encounter different magics, and you're going to encounter different situations that Saoirse has never encountered before. The way that a 1v1 skill challenge works is you just can't double down on the same skill every time. Sure. You have to at least use one or the other. But I will allow you to use like your best skills, describe to me what you're doing. I have one outcome for a success and one for a failure. So initially you're sneaking around this island, you kind of start encountering like, essentially that you notice that there's a whole herd of these Stegosaurus, these massive, plated dinosaur creatures, and their calves, they're grazing on a large portion of like hilly land that you find yourself on. And that's the first thing that you're going to encounter. So in a skills challenge, what is Saoirse doing?
Again, just sticking with the same plan. These things are large, which means he's not going to try to do anything to kind of make them aggressive. He's going to do his best to try to stay as hidden as possible while trying to get as far away from these large beings.
So that would be a stealth check.
Uh-huh. Okay. It's 18 plus 4, 22.
That will be a success.
Woo!
And for this one, I'm not going to tell you how many successes you need.
Okay.
Sorry. Keeps the suspense more fun.
Yeah, I like surprises. Am I to assume that it's the standard 3 failures?
Yes, we can assume that the standard 3 failures is still in play.
Okay. So question mark number of successes against 3 failures. Got it.
Right. Yes. Because it's exciting. Woohoo. Woohoo. Okay. So that is one success. You managed to kind of stealthily poke your way around this family of Stegosaurus that are grazing happily and contentedly in the sun. They don't seem perturbed by you. At some point, a baby actually kind of curiously boops you with its snoot as it's grazing because you happen to be in a bush that it's in.
Okay.
And it just kind of stares at you with big eyes and goes, "Wah."
I just stare back and I try to mimic it.
It boops your snoot again and then leaves peacefully.
God, thank God. Oh, God. Oh. Okay.
And that is a success. So you manage to kind of creep your way towards what appears to be a river, a waterfall, and a cave. All the hairs on your arms are kind of sticking up because this area feels very heavy with magic, but you can't identify why.
Okay, I'm going to use my Arcana skills then to try to figure out what this magical oppression is and maybe try to identify it.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's a crit fail.
Let me roll the fail skill for you.
That's a 1.
Oh no. Okay. Good news is it was only a 22 on the fail scale.
Oh, good.
So it's not that bad.
So I only had a minor magical aneurysm.
Right. This magic is actually, in fact, so convoluted and from so many different sources that all seem like they're crossed over and that you can't even identify and separate what the magic is coming from or where or why. Like, you swear you get feelings of the Feywild, but then there's other darker stuff here that you can't identify, and then something else that has to do with the sort of magic that you've never encountered before. For a second, you taste blue, and you feel momentarily nauseous. Give me a Constitution save.
Is Saoirse going on an acid trip? Did he eat some bad shrooms? Is that what this is? This whole thing is
it's
just
a little weird and trippy. Like, you try to figure out what this magic is, and it just fucks you up.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug. Oh no! That's a 9.
You throw up.
Oh, okay. I just got magical vertigo.
Ill. Yeah, essentially, that's really basically the best way to describe it. Is it was so much and too much that you've never encountered before that you just bleh. Yeah.
Oh god.
So it's just basically you throwing up rainbows next to a cave and a waterfall.
That'd be an awesome metal album cover.
All right, so that didn't go well, but you're still standing there next to the cave, the waterfall, and the sensation of strange magic that just permeates this place. What are you doing?
Well, the Arcana check didn't do it, so I mean, I guess if I can't see magically, I'm going to try to see materialistically.
Okay, are you gonna like try to perceive what might be the magical source? Okay,
or just perceive my surroundings and see if anything immediately stands out that might be producing this kind of like sickness, this magical illness.
Sure. Give me a perception roll and let's see how that goes.
Okay, there we go. 19 plus 7, 26.
That is absolutely a success. You start looking around and your attention feels pulled towards the cave. And as you look at the cave, you notice that there's some strange creature hanging from the cave, almost like it's pretending to be a stalagmite, or a stalactite rather, because they hang from the top. You suddenly see it move as it realizes it notices you. It looks like a fucked up octopus with webs between its arms. Okay. And it lets go of the ceiling and starts scrambling towards you hungrily.
Oh god, oh god, oh
god. For those of you playing the home game, this is a dark mantle.
Oh, good. So, again, it's coming from the cave towards me.
Yes.
Okay, so the cave is behind it.
Yes.
Okay. And in the surrounding area, other than just the cave, and
there's
obviously
there's a cave, there's a waterfall, and then there's more jungle. In the far distance, you can also see like a beach sort of situation. Okay,
so since the jungle is kind of where Saoirse feels at home, growing up in the Feywild, he's used to that kind of surroundings. He's going to just immediately book it towards the jungle area, opposite the direction he came, though. So he's still making some type of progress, just in a different direction, right? And he's going to use his survival skills to attempt to leave as little amount of tracks as he possibly can. You know, use leaves to cover up his escape. As you're escaping, you're using your survival skills to get away from this predator. Right. Yeah, it's my understanding of the jungle to get away from this thing. Yeah, as quickly I'll let you roll a survival for that, please. Okay, cool. Ooh, okay, 11 plus 7, 18. That will also be a success.
and you essentially scramble up like a big fuck off palm tree. And this thing like doesn't seem to like the forest, so like it comes out of the woods, you like scramble towards a palm tree and kind of like hide yourself as best you can. You get really still, you like coat yourself in bark or some shit.
Yeah.
And you and you are very still, and you watch this thing get to the edge of where the water/cave area meets the darkness of the forest, and it kind of like puts some tentacles forward, but then gets pissed off, like makes like a hissing sound. You see a lot of its teeth kind of glisten angrily, almost insectoid-like, and then it scrambles back towards the cave slowly.
Okay. So I'm at a decent height?
Yes.
Okay. If possible, I'd like to use my height advantage to maybe do another perception check so I can kind of see what's going on around me now that I'm at an elevated position.
Yeah, please do.
10 plus 7, 17.
Yeah, that's absolutely a success. And that is what you needed in order to succeed on this skills check. So you look all around you, and approaching from essentially across the river is this strange animal-like creature. It almost looks wolfine, like in its body. It's a creature that you've never actually seen in person, but you recognize because it's a Fey-type creature, and they're dangerous. It has a human's face and a dog wolf-like body. It's dark-colored, and it's sniffing all around the area you just were. Oh. Okay. It makes a howling, snarling sound as it appears to pick up your scent.
Uh-oh.
And starts heading your way. There's a moment where you're panicking and you're like, oh shit, there's this Yef hound fucking coming after me right now. And I don't know what to do. And I'm trapped here and I'm scared and I don't know where my parents are. And for a moment, there's like a second where you have this bizarre sense of calm that you haven't had this whole time. It almost feels like someone has like embraced you gently. And you hear a voice in the back of your head say, trust me, we'll get you home. And then you have a sensation like you're being told again.
Is it the same kind of scent, like cold?
No, this time it's almost a warm sensation, like sitting in a bubble bath.
Ooh.
It's a warmer sensation, and it almost feels like motherly. And you're not sure where you're going, but you know that whatever is about to happen, someone is looking out for you, even though someone else is after you. And you're not sure where you're going to come out next, but you're a little hopeful. And that is where we're going to end Saoirse/Shift's background adventure.
Thank you for tuning in to Standard Array. Help our show grow by leaving us a review on your podcast player of choice and sharing us with your friends, players, and DMs. Also, please make sure to follow us on social media or on our Discord server for our next adventure. Links are in this episode's description.